We are going to get into your viewer voice messages, one of my favorite parts of the week. And we've got a lot. We have a lot of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think these are from this week. Let me see real quick. I'll remember. Let's start with William and see how this goes.
Hey, buddy, it's Will. Just wanted to say, love your stuff. I'm a convert for forever, and I'm doing this as you're doing the live. All right, brother.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm feeling good. Damn, it's going to be hard to beat that. It's going to be hard to beat that. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to be hard to beat that. Damn. Let's listen to it again, shall we?
Hey, buddy, it's Will. Just wanted to say, love your stuff. I'm a convert for forever, and I'm doing this as you're doing the live. All right, brother.
Unbelievable. I appreciate that, my man. All right. Next up, Max. 37 seconds. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, speakpipe.com. If you do want to send a voice message, it's the place to do it. I put the link in every description of every video. Max.
Hey, James. I just wanted to ask how you think we line up with the new kickoff changes. Do you think something we would pan to is trying to develop someone like the Chiefs have Justin Reed, for example, having a safety that can kick? Obviously, he's more proven in terms of that, so it wasn't starting over, but do you think that's something we would possibly dive into with any of our players, as well as our returners having someone like Shaheed and Taysom as two guys that we could possibly use, as well as some other guys? I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
So I think we'll see a lot of change with the kickoff rule as far as like how teams attack it, how teams prepare for it, how teams utilize it. We're going to see a lot of experimentation early on. It's one of those things where in practice and when you just talk about it or hear about it or think about it, all of a sudden people are like, well, Justin Fields may be able to return kicks, or maybe we'll have a linebacker kicking off kicks. And, you know, like it can sound crazy until you see it, until you see how teams implement it. It's hard to say. Honestly, is. We'll know quickly though. Like we'll know quickly if it's going to be a real game changer. First couple of weeks, if we start seeing people out of position, if Justin Fields is returning kicks, then we'll know, okay, something's up. But I'm not putting a lot of stock into it currently as far as like being a tried and true game-changing situation, or it's going to really affect the analytics or the viewer experience or any of that. But the kicker position is quickly changing, possibly. I'm honestly not a huge fan of kicking being, I don't want to say in the game, but I do think it is brutal for a game to come down to a field goal or come down to a missed extra point or come down to any of that. I'm not a fan. I mean, I know it's part of the game, but not a fan at all. All right. But good. I mean, great question, because it's something we're going to have to monitor. I mean, I will be monitoring it heavily first couple of weeks, preseason, everything, just seeing, okay, what exactly is going on here. I can go ahead and tell you this. The Baltimore Ravens will be really, really good at whatever it is, because their special teams are always seemingly a step ahead of everyone else when it comes to that stuff. Anonymous, 35 seconds. Is it a person? Is it the lizard group? Who knows?
Hey, James, what's going on? This is Rose City D. You do an awesome job, man. I love the way you break down Saints commentary. But I had a question for you, or a suggestion. If you check out Mina Kimes and Ryan Clark, they do their rankings from 1 to 32. They have the Saints ranked at 27. They have the Raiders higher than them, so on and so forth. But I think that's something that you might can do a show about. Yes, Mina Kimes show, and her and Ryan Clark. Who that to you? Have a good day.
Who dat? Appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I like Mina Kimes a lot. I like Mina. I like how she breaks down games. She comes from more of a, I don't want to say analytical. Analytical is a bit of a buzzword, but she comes from that line of watching the games. I think she's trying to really break down what's happening on the field. She's trying to really break down into the next level of, okay, who actually is, playing at a above average level, who actually is good on the field. It's not just names. And she is good, especially in that like mass sports media where it's a lot of buzzwords, it's a lot of familiar names, it's a lot of Lamar Jackson is good because he's Lamar Jackson. Like, we know that. I need to know more. I need to keep going. Mina does keep going, so I do like her show, and I will check that out. If they ranked us 27, that is crazy low. I think the lowest you could probably rank the Saints is about 20. I think I could hear an argument for 20. I believe I had them at 17 or 16 when we were talking about this in a couple of videos ago. So I'd say somewhere in there. Preseason, obviously. Like, if you right now, if you're just coming at this unbiased, I would say anywhere between 16 and 20. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, we're in the same ballpark as some other teams, like, you know, Seattle or Indianapolis or, you know, Jacksonville, even Atlanta. Like, they all kind of deserve to be right there. 27 is nuts, especially if we're behind like Vegas and behind Denver or New England or the Giants or teams like that. Like, those are really bad teams. 27 is just silly. Slow Kid 19, how's it going? Joshua, 27 is just silly. It is. It absolutely is. This is the best team we've had since Breeze retired. The fact that people think we suck and have gotten worse isn't true. We've slowly gotten better. It probably is. Yeah, I mean, I think it is the best team since Breeze retired. Like, top to bottom, coaching staff factored in, all of that. So many people just shove the Saints off. Crazy how mindsets change so fast. I think the deal is, like, Dennis Allen is as far as like the media, he's a losing head coach, which he is. Derek Carr is a losing-ish, irrelevant, you know, veteran quarterback. He's an unsexy, like, he's not driving the narrative. So I think when you have that combined, I think it's easy to write us off if you don't watch the games and don't understand what's happening. So, all right, Artem Maximov, one of my favorite names of all time. Last time he sent a message in, it was about analytics, and it was an incredible conversation starter. So he's about to give us 52 seconds of brilliance.
Hey, James. Thank you for answering my first question. Got to see that on the stream. That was very cool. I have another question. After watching a lot of recent videos, I mean, everyone's saying the NFC South is really, really bad, which, you know, I don't completely disagree. There's not exactly a, you know, franchise quarterback there last year. But, you know, we all know the Saints didn't make the playoffs on a tiebreaker purely. And, you know, the Atlanta Falcons lost by 2 points to the Cardinals and lost to the Panthers, you know, down the stretch. With those 2 wins, they're also a 9-win team and could have made the playoffs depending on tiebreakers. So I'm looking at this and saying, we had 3 teams that were very close to making the playoffs in the NFC. I agree, our division's clearly not the best, but it's clearly not, like, you know, way, way, way worse than every other division. And I'm kind of wondering why if the perception of that is purely because of the quarterback perception, or you really do think that our division is significantly worse than everyone else. Thank you.
I think it's a combo. So I think it's a combo of the quarterback play and the division probably being the worst division. If you look at the Panthers, they are really dragging down the division. They are really bad. The Panthers are one of the worst teams in the NFL. So if you go look at the other worst teams in the NFL, the Broncos, the Giants, the Patriots, you look at the top of their division, it's like the opposite's happening, right? Like, the AFC West is being brought down by the Broncos, but it's being greatly pushed up by the Chiefs. If you take the Chiefs out and replace the Chiefs with the Falcons, the AFC West is probably the worst division in football. Go to the AFC East, where the Patriots are. The Patriots are dragging down the AFC East, but you have the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins dragging them up, right? The Giants and Commanders dragging down the NFC East. You have the Cowboys and the Eagles dragging them up. All right, those are all, besides the Cowboys, those are all like legitimate NFC title threatening teams. They're all legitimate like Super Bowl contenders for the most part. The NFC South's top end isn't very high. The NFC South's top end is 3 average to above average teams. So if you believe the Saints are the best team in the NFC South, let's just say they are for the sake of the conversation. The top end is probably like a 10-win, maybe one and done in the playoffs type situation like Tampa Bay last year. If that's your top end and the bottom end is the Panthers, the worst team in football, that's why the division is looked at as being so bad. So I do agree, top to bottom, it probably is the worst division of football. The AFC South, the Texans are helping them out, but the AFC South is kind of in the same boat where it's a bunch of average teams and then a bad team, depending on how you think about Tennessee. But a lot of people in the Texans can compete in the AFC, you know, make it to an AFC title game. I don't think anyone truly believes the Bucs, the Saints, or the Falcons are a legitimate Super Bowl threat. Like a legitimate threat to win the South. The Bucs won a playoff game last season? Yeah, they did. But that's what I'm saying, like one and done. Just kind of like, even though the Bucs won a playoff game, no one thought they were really going to challenge for the Super Bowl. So whether it's the Bucs or the Falcons or the Saints, whoever's coming out of the NFC or NFC South, it's just kind of whatever. So that's why I think they're considered the worst division. Quarterback play does have something to do with that, and it's all kind of the same quarterback. It's very unsexy quarterbacks. Like, what's the top end of the quarterbacks? What's the top end of the quarterback is like the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, the 8th best quarterback in the NFL, somewhere in there. You look at those other divisions, at the top end of Jalen Hurts is an MVP. The top end of Patrick Mahomes is an MVP. The top end of all these players is much higher. So that also adds into it for sure. They look at quarterbacks and there's no franchise flashy quarterbacks. Yeah, 100%. The division is bad, but it's still competitive. It's competitive, and it's not bad. That's something else. The NFC South isn't bad. It's just the weakest as far as like the top end of what it can do. Being 9-8, 10-7, and 8-9, that's not bad. Like the Panthers are bad, but you don't want to play the Falcons. You don't want to play the Saints. You don't want to play the Bucs. So, I would much rather, if you throw the Panthers out and you throw the Chiefs out, the AFC West, and you have the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers, or the Falcons, Bucs, and Saints, I think the Falcons, Bucs, and Saints are a tougher division than Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers. But we're losing our bottom end, and they're losing their top end. See, so like the chunk in the middle there, the NFC South probably is harder. It probably is better. But you got to have that top end. Good question. Dante, 43 seconds. Back in 2017, 2020, we were in the position the Chiefs are in now. We were the best team in the division, and everyone else sucked. Yeah, it happens. I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. Divisions get propped up by certain teams, and it takes a while for certain teams to catch up, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes, like the Patriots, just roll the division for 15 years. But you're never going to say the AFC East is the easiest division, even if the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills were terrible, which they were for a lot of those years, because you got the Patriots, right? So by default, it's a tough division just because you have them. So you got to factor in the top end and all that stuff. Dante, 43 seconds.
Hey, what's up, big dog?
What's happening,
I was
brother?
wondering so far what you thought of the Pelicans offseason so far.
Pelicans
such
talk.
as the DeJounte Murray trade, the 2 first-round picks with Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels for DeJounte Murray. And what do you thought would be the ideal trade for Brandon Ingram if you still thought that we should trade him for a big man such as Jared Allen, or I've heard rumors of Wendell Carter Jr. And then what you thought of the of our draft picks so far, Yves Messi and the other guy, I can't think of him off the top of my head.
I love the Murray trade. Draft picks in the NBA, who cares? Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, who cares? I don't think our current 5 fits. I don't think they are currently there. I don't think they're an actual 5. Like right now, our 5 is Murray. The 2 is CJ. The 3 is Brandon. The 4 is Herb. The 5 is Zion. That's not going to work, right? Everyone's playing out of position. Everyone's small. Everyone's under 6'8". So then it's like, okay, well, do you go Murray, CJ to the bench? Then you have Herb at the 3. Then you have Herb at the 2, Brandon at the 3. Then Zion at the 4. You have to go get a 5. Who the hell's the 5? Why would CJ come off the bench? Ingram's not going to come off the bench. So how do you factor in? Like right now, it doesn't work. So we need a 5. Markkanen, I think, would be perfect. We need a 5 that's going to run. Zion wants to run. We also need a 5 that's going to shoot. We can't have a 5 like Jonas who just sits in the paint because Zion's going to want to drive, right? Zion wants to drive. Murray wants to drive. So having a slow, plodding, old school 5 doesn't work. We need a 5 who can get up and down the court We need a 5 who can get in the corner and shoot a 3 if Zion or whoever sends it out to him. So I think the Pelicans have a lot of work to do. As far as Ingram's value took a huge hit last year. I think at one point Ingram was looked at as like a number 1 on a team. Now he's looked at as like a 3 on a team. So, his value is not that great, especially when you factor in the contract, like who's going to trade for him to get that contract. What we need right now is an athletic big who can shoot, and we need depth. We only have 8 players on the team. So we need someone that can come off the bench. We need someone that can come off the bench and score. We need someone who can come off the bench, and that's what happened last year. Last year is that we would get into the late game, and we would be pushing, and we'd be trying to win, trying to close the gap or extend the lead. Our second team would come in. All of a sudden, it's Najee Marshall, Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, Herb Jones, and Jose Alvarado. Bad news: no one on the court can score. So great defense, but no one can score, and everyone in the NBA can score. Like defense can only be so good. So we just need scorers. We need guys who can create on their own. So, but I like bringing in Murray. It was time to do something. It was time to do something for sure. So, but yeah, Pels got to do something quick. I want to see who the 5 is going to be. Divine Eternity. Did I miss my voice message? Thought no. We're about to do it right now, brother. Perfect timing. Thoughts on the Pels draft picks? I don't know anything about them. Yeah, I don't know much about them, to be honest. I don't know much. I know Missy apparently is pretty raw but pretty talented. But yeah, I mean, NBA draft picks are so hard because they're either a superstar off the bat or they need some serious development. All right. Here we go. Divine Eternity. 26 seconds. Here you go.
Hey, James, I've been wanting to get your perspective on something. If the 2024 New Orleans Saints don't win a division this year, but they still make the playoffs with a wild card, is that still considered a successful season? Because I think it is, but with this sour fan base, I'm not so sure if that would be enough for them. And there's been a lot of criticism that we just haven't been in the playoffs for the last 3 years. So that's my question.
So if we do not win the division, but we still make the playoffs in the wild card, yeah, I would say that was successful. Because if we don't win the division but make the playoffs in the wild card, more than likely that means the Falcons or the Bucks have won like 11 games, and we've probably won 10 games or 9 games at the absolute least. And if that gets us into the wild card, then the league is probably pretty competitive, so we probably beat some decent teams at that time. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I mean, I would think that should be successful. Like what fan base, like what team, there's probably 5 or 6 teams in the NFL that if you told them you are going to make the playoffs in the wild card this season, there's only like 5 or 6 teams that would be like, that's a total disaster. Like the Chiefs would say it's a disaster. But like I'll ask you this, chat. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, and you can press a button and you can say you'll make the playoffs in the wild card, do you think the Bengals would say that's an unsuccessful season? Because if you're the Bengals, who the hell knows? The Ravens could win 14 games. Like the wild card might mean 13 wins. The wild card might be 12-5. You know, it might be 12-5 wild card while the Ravens are the 1 seed. You know, so I think making the playoffs is the goal. You know, like winning the division, making the playoffs, and that's really about it. You know, like that's really it. Like that's the main things. If you can't win your division, you want to be in the wild card. You know, so like the only team I can really think of, it's the same like the Eagles and the Cowboys. If you're the Eagles and the Cowboys, and you're like, hey, you want to, like, to them, making the playoffs in the wild card is no big deal. Like, yeah, you want to win the division, but just because it's a wild card doesn't make it any less successful. The Chiefs are probably the only team. Where it's like, how the hell did we not win our division? Like, the Chiefs are the only team that I can think of right now that not winning the division would be like a huge step back. Because their division is pretty weak, and they always win the division. But for the Saints, who haven't been in the playoffs since Breeze, who's bringing in a whole new coaching staff, Derek Carr making the playoffs, like all of that, that absolutely should be a successful season. 100%. Now, if something like let's change it a little bit. Let's say the Saints win the division, but they go 7-10, and 7-10 wins you the division. Is that a successful season? Now I can understand where you'd say no, because it's like, yeah, we made the playoffs, yeah, we won the division, but we're 7-10. Like, I don't know. So I can understand that. What do y'all think, chat? What do y'all think about that one? If we win the division, but the winning record is 7-10, what do you think? What would you consider that season? Let's see. I'm catching up in chat while y'all give me some answers. Let's go. Finally making it live since the first one. There we go. Oh, Garthquake's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Garthquake's back. Plus, if you're the Bengals and make it in the wild card, you still have Joe Burrow. Yeah, exactly. Like, get in the playoffs. Get in. Anytime you make the playoffs a success, then if offense, 100%. Well, 100%. We just need to make the playoffs first, simple, and then we can talk about the Super Bowl. Yeah, just make the playoffs. Make the playoffs. Take it one game at a time. First live. There you go, Kevin. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome. Very nice. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl with a 7-win season. Is that true? I know they made the playoffs. I don't think they won the Super Bowl. Did they? I know they made the play. That's when they beat us. That's when they beat us with the boomquake or whatever. But they didn't win the Super Bowl, did they? 9-8 wild card is better than 7-10 division champions. I agree. I would agree with that. Commanders won 2020 with 7-10. Yeah, it happens all the time, actually. Chase Young rookie year. Everyone's 0-0 in the playoffs, so anything can happen. True. That part's true. Yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways. Like, but that's kind of what I talk about all the time with results. Where let's say you're 7-10 and you win the division, good. We're in the playoffs. We win a division, happy. But then you have to take a real hard look at your scheme and your system. You have to take a real hard look at like what's happening on the team. You have to take a real hard look at what's happening like on the field and your offense and your defense. Like, okay, how did we lose 10 games? What's not working? Something's not working. So what's not working, right? So that's one of those things where like you have a combination of results good or results bad. I guess like the big grand scheme of things, results would be good, but the actual like minutia, word of the day, would be bad. So you'd be at war there. That would be scary because everyone would think, well, what the hell did hiring Clint do? Yeah, exactly, Ryan. Like if we went 7-10, you look around, you're like, damn, we probably weren't much better than with Carmichael. Seahawks lost week after Beastquake. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I didn't think they won the whole thing. That would be crazy. That would be wild. That would be wild. That'd be crazy season right there. All right, let me go quick here. Saints 10 wins, Bucks 9 wins, Falcons 8 wins. That's kind of how I have it. What if the offense is the best ever and the defense flops with a winning season? That'd be interesting because we probably. I mean, if the defense is terrible, but we still have a winning season, you have to have some real questions with Allen, because at that point it's like, brother, what are you doing? Like if the offense is sweet, Kubiak's taking care of it. So if what's Dennis Allen doing here? My mistake on the Seahawks. Oh, no problem, pal. Happens to the best of us. 7 wins is crazy. Yeah, it's insane. Saints Bengals Super Bowl. Don't remind me of Beastquake. Allen will get fired if that's the case. I don't know though. He might. I don't think he'd get fired if we had a good season. Like if we won 10 games but the defense was terrible. I don't think he gets fired, but he has a serious talking to. Hey, James, can you share where you saw the statistic of us having the worst offensive play caller? Yeah. Let me do that real quick. Should be able to pull it up pretty fast. Let me pull that up, and then I'm going to use the bathroom, actually. And then we're going to get back to y'all's questions. Let's see here. So where I go to look at those stats, I always reference the stats. So I always reference these. Patton Analytics is who I reference, Stephen Patton. So he does all these analytics all throughout the season. Okay, so every week he would do these different things. So this one is yards left on the field by quarterbacks last year. All right, so it just shows you. So you have missed yards per attempt with no pressure, and then missed yards in attempt with pressure. Kirk Cousins was the worst, actually, in the NFL. So let me see if I can find the play caller one. This is draft stuff. This might be it. I know this is more draft stuff. But it's so cool to look at these analytics, and there's so many good follows out there. All right, this is defensive play caller. So this is the Allen one. Defensive play callers after week 18. So this is after the regular season. After the regular season, this ranked every defensive play caller. Number 1 is Dennis Allen. Number 10 is Raheem Morris. Okay. Raheem Morris is now supposed to fix everything in Atlanta. So, but yeah, Dennis Allen was number 1. So that's that one. Let me find the offensive one. Play caller ratings. This is compared to the easy button usage. So this includes RPOs, play action, motions, and screens. Obviously, Carmichael is really low because he doesn't do that, right? So he was really bad. But this isn't the chart you're talking about. All right, so this is ranking the play callers. Offensive. This is the offensive play callers. This is Carmichael is minus 0.43, which has him way down there. Carolina's minus 0.46. Arthur Smith's 0.62. That's not what you're looking for either. Here it is. Ranking offensive play callers after week 18. So at the end of the year, at some points, Carmichael was number 32. At the end of the year, Carmichael was 30. Okay. Ahead of Thomas Brown, who got fired, and Arthur Smith, who got fired. Can't fire Allen because it's a good year, but he definitely will need a pep talk. Yeah, agreed. Pete was the tadpole trying to run with the bullfrog. The puppy trying to hang with the big dogs. Damn, that was poetry. Holy shit. God, dog. Damn, that was some straight up poetry. That just blew my mind. That's the realest thing I've ever heard. I come in and we have analytics on the board. Crafty, what's up, brother? What's happening, my boy? How are you doing, man? Remember, guys, we made in the first half alone, we made Josh Dobbs. Oh, yeah. Saints for plus 11 turnovers. Do you see the dreaded turnover regression? I do not. I think turnovers are random. I am a staunch believer in turnovers are being random. Only reason Pistol Pete isn't the last is because our players are actually talented, not like Atlanta or Carolina. Pete also changed. I will say that. The offense actually did kind of change. Arthur Smith and Thomas Brown, who were below Pete on that list, they never changed. Pete did start implementing some play action and stuff like that. I think because of New Orleans football. Nick Underhill and the gang over there was absolutely crushing Carmichael about the play action, and all of a sudden, Carmichael started calling it. I think he felt the heat. We beat the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, but we know Jalen is good in the system. Yeah, true. Still have to watch that video, James, but don't worry, I will. I watch and like all your vids. I appreciate that, man. Giants won Super Bowl with 7 wins. When was that? Eli's teams didn't have 7 wins. All right, let's keep it going. Divine Eternity, good stuff. Corey, 27 seconds to the superstar.
Hey, James. I hope you're doing well.
Doing great.
As a huge fan of the Saints, I really appreciate all the insightful content you share about the team. I have a question I've been pondering and would love to get your thoughts on it.
I got the
answer,
answer,
How do you think
brother.
the Saints' current roster depth compares to the 2009-2010 Super Bowl winning team? And what key areas do you think need to be addressed to reach that level of success again?
Well, the problem with the Saints is that the depth isn't great. Like, the wide receiver depth isn't great. The offensive line depth obviously isn't great. We have depth, quote unquote depth, at defensive line. We have quote unquote depth in the secondary. right? We have quote unquote depth at running back, but you wonder about the level of talent. Like, yeah, we have a bunch of people we can rotate on the defensive line, but how many are good? Yeah, we have multiple running backs who are good, but we need someone to be good. Like, we need someone to be, and this happens in every Super Bowl team. You need somebody, whoever it is, to be really, really, really good for a stretch of time. Whether it's Joe Flacco, whether it's Nick Foles, whether it's Terrell Davis, whether it's Plaxico Burress, whether it's Michael Strahan, whether it's a defensive player, whoever, whether it's Deion Branch or Malcolm Butler or Hines Ward, or the list goes on and on. With the Saints, who is that going to be? Right? So I'm not sure if it's a lack of depth with the Saints as much as a lack of top-end superstar. As far as and I'm talking about comparing them to the Super Bowl team. With the Super Bowl team, it's very obvious, okay, who is going to be that person? Who is going to do that? Drew Brees is the first one that comes to mind. You have a Hall of Fame MVP level quarterback. That is going to rise. That's going to lift everything else. So what I would say as far as comparing the two teams, if the Saints want to be in that situation, if the Saints want to be okay, who's going to step up? Where's the depth going to be? Who in the roster is going to do that? It's got to be the defense. We're going to have to see a resurgence from Cam Jordan. We're going to have to see Demario Davis play at the levels he's been playing at. We're going to have to see Chase Young get somewhere around double-digit sacks, maybe even more. We're going to have to see Marshawn Lattimore be the best cornerback in the NFL. If all of that happens, and you told me we have the number one defense in the NFL and we have an absolute Legion of Boom level defense, all of a sudden it takes a lot of the pressure off of our depth at wide receiver. It takes a lot of the pressure off of our depth at offensive line. It takes a lot of the pressure off of our depth at running back. It takes a lot of the pressure off of our depth at tight end. Because if our defense is that good and that's where the roster is pushing, then that's where the depth and that's where the roster, that's where the talent's going to shine, comparing it to a Super Bowl winning team. So depth-wise, we got to get depth. As far as the future now, we have to get depth wide receiver. We have to get depth at offensive line. We have to get starters in offensive line first, but then depth. I would say tight end is probably, after this year, you probably need to find an actual tight end, a true threat. Besides that, that's where I would start. Running back, I believe in Kamara, and I think Kendra Miller is good. Wide receiver, Olave is good top end. Probably need to fill that out. But if we had a true 2 and Rasheed was our 3, A.T. Perry's our 4, all of a sudden it's could do worse there. Could do worse. So the Giants were 9-7. Yeah, I didn't think there were 7 wins. That'd be crazy. Just got that one little workout. There you go, my man. Dude, I did a workout earlier today. When I just ran to the loo, my quads cramped so bad. I was doing Zercher squats. That's what my workout was today. I was doing heavy Zercher squats. And my quads are lit up. Okay, let's do 2 more, and then I'll catch up and chat here. Corey, 43 seconds.
All right. So let's say Carr goes out and has a really good season next year, and they make a really good playoff run.
Okay.
Not the NFC Championship.
Yeah, win 2 games. Win the wild card game, or win wild card weekend, win the division. Okay,
playoff run like that, but a really deep run.
Yeah.
And they're dominant through the season.
Okay.
Do you think it's worth them restructuring Derek Carr's contract and keeping him and possibly giving him another contract extension and letting Spencer Rattler sit behind him and learn? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we are dominant, and this is kind of where I've said this before, where I think Derek Carr's contract is team friendly, right? it is team friendly because it gives the team the control. The Saints have the decision to make in year 3 and year 4. If the Saints are really, really good, if they're really, really good and Derek Carr is dominant and the Saints are dominant and the Saints win multiple playoff games and they're threatening to win the NFC title or threatening to go to the NFC title game, then all of a sudden it's like, damn, all we got to do to bring our quarterback back is pay him like $40 million. $40 million a year for a quarterback that with a dominant team, not that bad, right? Then you get, and that's if you don't even restructure. Then you're always going to have, because you got to remember too, a lot of Carr's guaranteed money is at the beginning of his contract. So I believe it's like a $10 or $15 million hit as far as like what we'd have to pay him or whatever guaranteed wise if we cut him after the June 1st deadline both years. And that's if we don't restructure. Then if we're good again, going into his 4th year, his $50 million a year, you probably restructure. I don't think you pay him 1 year $50 million. That'd be crazy. And I don't think he would play for that anyways. I don't think Carr would say, yeah, I'll play 1 year $50 million with like $10 million of it guaranteed. Why would he do that? He would want to restructure as well. So, but that's why it's so beautiful, the situation. There isn't pressure on anybody. There isn't pressure on the team to pay Carr. There isn't pressure on Carr to demand more money or beat out Spencer Rattler or beat out Jake Haener. There isn't pressure on Haener or Rattler to beat out Carr. Everything can just chill. If we are good and Carr is good and the Saints are good and all that works out, we're in a perfect situation to let Carr play out some of his contract, let Rattler and Haener develop. There's no rush there. You know, it's not a Michael Penix situation where like he has to play. So that is a great problem for us to have. If it does happen, that would be a fantastic, fantastic problem to have. Is if Carr and the team is so good and they're growing so fast that we have to look at paying them $40 million in year 3. Because again, $40 million for your quarterback of a dominant team that's winning playoff games, $40 million is not that crazy. 50 and above, that's when you start to kind of wonder what's going on. And like I said, there's no way you're going to pay Derek Carr 1 year $50 million with like 10 guaranteed. He's not going to do that. All right, last question, and then we'll get to chat, and then we're probably going to watch this video to end the stream. CJ, 1:30. Damn, this is a thesis. Come on, Speak Pipe. Speak Pipe, don't do this to me. Speak Pipe. Speak Pipe. My guys.
Hey, James. This is CJ here. Let's get down to business, man.
All right, let's go.
I think one of these 4 players are going to be primed to have a career year.
Okay.
Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, or Chase Young. Here's why.
Okay, I think Kamara could for sure. I mean Chase Young could, I guess. That would be like 10 sacks. I think Carr could, but I don't think Carr's going to have to, but I think he could. Someone real quick look up what Derek Carr's best year was. Just stats. Look up like passing yards, touchdown, interceptions. What was his best year? It was the year he got MVP votes.
So as far as Derek Carr goes, if quarterbacks like Tua, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, etc., have shown that they thrive in these Shanahan-style offenses, there's no reason for me to believe that he cannot have a career year like he did in 2021 and get MVP votes for us.
See, I don't know. Like that, I don't know because, okay, 4,800 yards in 2021. Yeah, like if he throws for 5,000 yards, it's hard to imagine he's going to throw for 5,000 yards. Why would he be throwing so much? You know, like I just don't think we're going to be that kind of team. I think we're going to be a very run-oriented team. I think Carr will be good in the system, but like that, and that's kind of the danger of like a career year is like, what exactly does that mean? You literally think he's going to have his best statistical season Because then all of a sudden it's like asking him to throw 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns seems pretty wild.
Olave. Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son. The Kubiak system typically feeds number one receivers heavily. I think Chris Olave is being primed to get a lot of targets this year, which can result into, maybe 1,500 yards, and he emerges as a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Alvin Kamara, you talk about that. I don't need to speak about that. Chase Young, man, I think he can get double-digit sacks, man.
I agree on Chase Young, for sure. If Chase Young's healthy, I think having Dennis Allen in his ear, Dennis Allen developing him, I think Chase Young could have a career year.
This system, where the coverage is going to be locking everything down, he has time, he has the speed. All he has to do is just stay healthy, and I think this guy's a lock for 11, 12 plus sacks.
Yeah, I think Chase Young. Let me pull this up. Let me see if I'm right about this. 28-6. He threw over 4,800 yards and 23 touchdowns. That was it. That's a wild stat line. All right. Okay.
Auto insurance all seems the same.
28-6 is good.
It's time to use it with you.
Okay, so this is Chase Young's highlights. So this is what, and I obviously just pulled up a random highlight video. When I watched Chase Young in college, my biggest issue with him was that, and I've said this before, he would go past the quarterback a lot. He would pressure beyond the quarterback, and then a lot of his sacks came from behind. Pause. You can't do that in the NFL because quarterbacks get rid of the ball too quick. In college, quarterbacks hold on to the ball, number one, but they also try to escape the pocket out of the back of the pocket. In the pros, quarterbacks climb the pocket. Quarterbacks go up in the pocket. They don't try to escape from the back. No one does that. So let's see if some of these are like that so I can kind of show what I'm talking about. Okay, exactly. All right, so this one, the quarterback's trying to escape out of the back of the pocket. Exactly what I was saying. Chase Young, sack from behind. Okay, doesn't happen in the NFL. I'm just going to keep letting this roll and see if we can catch a few more of these. All right, this is the same play, but I'm going to skip. Okay, what was this? There's a screen. All right, let's see if this is a sack. So there's a good play there. Great play there. Good stuff. Okay, another. All right, let's look at this one. All right, that one, the quarterback actually did go up, but you can see Young is pressuring beyond the quarterback. See how he pressures beyond the quarterback, sacks from behind? Let's see if this is the same situation. That one's more of like a tried and true sack. That's Ritter? Yeah, the Cincinnati quarterback? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of a different play. But you see what I'm saying, guys? Like that. Oh, that's a good one. This is a great one. Okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Great one. Great one. Okay, watch this quarterback. Watch Young. Young's on the top. Watch where Young goes. He's way beyond the quarterback. He's 2 yards. He's circling 2 yards beyond the quarterback. His pressure is beyond the quarterback. Now he has to come back up to make the sack. The quarterback, look how long he holds this ball. Like think about a pro holding the ball this long. He is back there for a while, right? So Chase Young did this a lot in college, piled up some big numbers. I think he has gotten better in the pros, but I do not want to see this. Well, I want to see that. But like if you ever see Chase Young in with the Saints, if you see him pressuring beyond the quarterback, then you know we're in some trouble. You know things aren't good. Okay. But to go back to CJ's question, I think Olave, there's going to be a lot of weapons. Will Olave get the usage? Maybe. I think Olave, this is a make or break season because if Olave has a huge year, talking like career year, talking like 1,400 yards, talking like, 1,300 yards somewhere in there, a lot of touchdowns, all of a sudden that could catapult him to being like a true number one. If Olave has the same year he had last year, there's going to be a whole lot of, maybe this guy isn't a number one. Maybe this guy's more of a number two. Maybe we need to find the number one. Chase Young is pretty solid. Just got to stay healthy. Yeah, I agree with that. But Kamara, I've gone over this a million times. I think Kamara is primed to have a great season. I may be a little high on Kamara, but I think he's just the perfect fit for this offense. He's the perfect fit for the system. He's absolutely perfect for what Clint Kubiak wants to do. So he's going there. What Clint Kubiak is going to ask of Alvin Kamara is exactly what Alvin Kamara does and exactly what Alvin Kamara wants to be asked to do. So it's not going to be running up the middle. It's not going to be running in between the tackles. It's going to be wide zone run, which should get him nice and open. It's going to be a lot of dumps, a lot of him getting the ball as a receiver, a lot of him running routes, which is exactly where he was the most dangerous with Sean Payton. So I agree. I think those four guys, Carr, Olave, Kamara, and Young, all are primed for a breakout season. They're all primed for the system. Each of their situations is what makes it so good. Chase Young, his situation, he's healthy. He's playing with Dennis Allen, arguably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. He's playing across from good defensive ends, whether it's Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson, whoever ends up being across from him. He has a good defensive line, a good defensive system that he should be able to thrive in. Kamara, just explained it. Chris Olave obviously is number one in a big-time system. This should certainly benefit him. It's just, is he a true number one?